All right.
All right.
Let's do it.
Hey, Shaun, what's happening?
You want me to start off?
Yeah, you start off. It's your show.
3, 2, 1.
Two black guys with good credit.
Well, welcome to Two Black Guys with Good Credit. As you can see, we are back in the building with new energy, new directions. I'm so looking forward to this season. You know, I've been doing this podcast for 8 years deep, and I felt like I needed to take a little break for a moment because I needed to rethink of the direction I wanted to go in. And I'm always trying to tap into young people. Right. And I came up with the idea, you know what? My friend Peter J., who I think is one of the leaders of the youths that I'm aware of and know of, and I always love his ideas and his energy. And he found, we actually connected through Two Black Guys with Good Credit.
That's right.
He found the show, we connected, we've done events at the Met, we've done events at Borough Hall, we've done so many great things together. And I said, you know, I need new energy, some young people. And I said, you know what, Peter, come on the show and let's host it with me. And he brought in, you can't see them, but they're in the background. Say hello, ladies. He brought Verse Productions in. And Nia and Lauren are the team behind us. And I was like, this just feels good. So we decided to shoot from my house in Brooklyn and really start doing what we do best, which is teach financial literacy in a way that people can understand. But let's just have fun with it, you know?
Right.
And it keep me young.
Right.
So with that being said, I'm going to let Peter take the floor right now and kind of talk about what this episode is going to be about and what we're and go from there.
For sure. Hey, you know, I'm the newest kid on the block. As Shaun mentioned, you know, we go way back. I discovered the podcast about 7-8 years ago now and sent a cold email. You know, wanted to just discover it, find out what else they had going on. He invited me to this same house, the same home that I'm sitting in right now. I'm sitting here in this chair as the co-host, the newest co-host of the Two Black Guys with Good Credit. Obviously, you know, the podcast is not just about credit. It's about, you know, learning financial literacy and making it accessible to everyone watching this right now. You know, we want to teach you, or not even just teach you, really expose you to just like our experiences, the knowledge that we've acquired, and, you know, just sharing that with you. So this particular episode, though, we are going to start off with just the newest Mr. A50 on the block. You know, when you guys
do? Young people do this? What you guys do? Yeah.
You know, when we were doing a lot of the financial literacy classes, like you mentioned, whether it's at Microsoft, whether it's at Borough Hall, you know, we would always have the OG Mr. A50 in the building. And, you know, Shaun, as of recent, has finally crossed and reached the finish line, which, you know, of reaching A50.
Pinnacle of all credits, yeah.
Right. So how does that feel, being the newest Mr. A50?
It was shocking, to be quite honest. When I check as you all should do, I check my credit report on freecreditreport.com, or you go to Experian, Equifax, TransUnion, and check your score. And, you know, I've always kept good discipline in terms of my credit. And I was really just checking to make sure everything was cool, if nothing came out unsuspicious or whatnot. And I noticed it said 850, and I honestly thought it was like some marketing things. I didn't think it was my credit score.
Yeah.
And then when I kept clicking for it to come off, I noticed that, wait a second, this is my score.
Right.
You know, I've hit the big
Pinnacle.
850, the pinnacle, yeah. And it was a good feeling because I've been teaching financial literacy for like 8 to 9 years now, and I've always been a fan of I never liked people that would stand up on a podium and preach, but they're not like following their actions, or they haven't done what it takes to me speak on it. So I'm very proud of it, and I'm very happy to share my journey.
Well, that's beautiful to hear, you know, about just finally reaching the pinnacle of all credit.
Thank you.
Well, I gotta know, like, at what point, we gotta talk about the journey actually and the mindset it takes to getting a perfect credit score. So just tell me a little bit about like the journey of arriving at this point.
It's funny. I was just telling this story a couple days ago. You know, I have to thank, and I don't thank him too often, to be honest. I have to thank my dad in a sense that started my financial journey, because when I got my license 16, 17, he actually didn't want me driving his car. So my mom convinced him to co-sign a car loan for me. And we went to the bank, And my dad was just pissed the whole time going there. He was like, we're from Barbados, so he was just cursing in Bajan language that luckily the loan officer couldn't really understand what he was saying, but he was more or less just saying, and not so many words, like, if you don't pay this loan, I'm not paying it. And I don't know why your mother dragging me out here and making me have to come sign this thing for me, blah, 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 blah. And just him reinforcing that. And the loan was for $3,600. The payment was $163.50 a month. And that registered in my head, like, I am not missing a payment. Like, I'm not going to let him go to my mother and tell her, I told you so. Look, I told you so. So that, honestly, at 16 was part of my good credit journey. That set it off, because at that point, I was never going to miss that payment. I don't care what I had to do to make sure I made that $163.50 a month. So I think that was it. And then just throughout the years, I think my mother always practiced, now I give gratitude to her, like, we lived in a single family home, government home, but we had everything in our small house. We had, like, there was always food in the fridge. My mom would always we had nice furniture. We even had a dishwasher, which was big back then. And she did everything through credit, and I know she would only pay like minimal payments. Like, she wasn't trying to pay everything off in full, because I know she couldn't afford it. But it got the stuff in our house. And so she learned, and I don't know, to like use credit to just make sure that we all lived comfortable.
Right.
So I would say, and my mom never, always paying on time, doing the right things, just kind of rubbed off on me.
For sure. Right. I'm sure that you picked up a lot from just your parental experiences and exposure that early on. But I'm sure during the journey you've had you've made some mistakes, right? Or maybe where you thought like your credit score was tanking and you had to make some changes. Like, tell us a little bit about just like some, the bumps along the journey, along the way.
I would say a key learning was, like, I was so obsessed with it at certain points, like, I would like close out credit cards that I wasn't using anymore. But what that does, that if you have like 3 credit cards and those 3 credit cards have $1,000 credit limit on them each, so in total $3,000, and then you have like no balance on the cards, you have you have accessibility of $3,000 in credit, right? And just say now I put like $1,500 on that credit card. Right. That means my usage rate is only 50% of all the cards in its totality.
Right.
So then when I got rid of one of the cards, and now I'm like, my credit limit is $2,000 in totality, but I still have the $1,500 usage on the card. Right. I've then used up 90% of the limit. Right. So it actually reduced my credit score.
Showing you're desperate too.
You're showing you remember the word from the class, showing I'm desperate. So that was a lesson where I realized, like, closing out cards is not necessarily a good thing if you want to raise your credit score. Right. And then I learned the importance of time too, which people don't understand. People will come up to me like, oh, I want to get my credit better. And like, they're only 2 years in their credit journey, 10 years in their credit journey. Like, it's consistency, continued paying on time. So when me getting to the 850 is because I haven't changed my habits. I just got older. Right. And there's more history of me being consistent, paying on time, leveraging credit, and then like mixing up my usage of credit. So like I have mortgages, I have a car loan, I have credit cards, I have personal loans. So it shows that in all different forms of credit, I've been able to be effective and excellent in them. Right. So I'm worthy of it.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, you kind of jumped the gun. I was trying to get a better understanding of just like the way credit. Like, let's just kind of get a little bit more micro and granular. The credit score, like this 850 that we're talking about, like what actually is it made up of? Like, because some people, like, I'm sure that there's certain misconceptions of like what if it's worth anything, or if it's like
there's tiers when it comes to credit, and it moves along depending on the economy. But like, for the argument's sake, like tier 1 credit is above like 780 to 850. Okay. So with that being said, somebody with a 780, 790, 800 credit score, we all have access to the same thing. Like 850 is just like a trophy to say you have, but it doesn't make me more privileged than somebody else with a tier 1 credit score. Okay. I don't think there's any credit card company out there or any loan out there that says we only want to give an offer with somebody with an 850 credit score. It's really like tier 1 credit. Now people ask, how important is credit, or what's the journey behind it? Like, credit is what it does. It gives you access to things. Gives you, like, for example, like if I renovated my home a couple years ago, I can get a zero interest credit card, meaning I'm paying no interest for 24 months and pile on all the materials that I need for to do my home, and just amortize it out over the life of the zero interest loan.
Right.
And you can take that into business. Like, I was just asking these Verse Productions about all their equipment.
Right.
They could be like, okay, we have great credit. Let's put all of our equipment that we spent, all these cameras, on a zero interest credit card. And as we get clients, our clients are going to pay down on these cameras that we're getting, versus like going into our pocket and using our own money to buy it, because your money is sacred. You have to protect your money. And the key to building wealth and success is leveraging credit. Like, I don't know if this is taboo to say this man's name, but like Elon Musk, when he bought Twitter and now X, he didn't use his own money. He's the richest man in the world. He acquired like $19 billion in loans to buy Twitter, and then he just has to pay back the lenders in a certain time, and he owns it, but he didn't use his money. And any successful person will tell you, you leverage your assets to acquire things, and the last thing you do is use your money.
That's right. Yeah, let's then segue into just like what what the lifestyle actually that you're talking about, like what it affords you, right? If you having this like credit score, what other examples of access that you talk about, like from a tier 1 versus a tier 2 or versus tier 3?
Well, that's even specifically like, so with my credit cards, I more make them a lot of travel based.
Okay.
Rather than like, and I think young people should be making them more like cash back, because your cash is king when you're young. Your earnings are not as high, so you want to get any discount you can towards anything. So you really want to focus on that. But as you get older, you can kind of other things. So I'm more like the travel aspect of it. So to answer your question, like I travel at least every month, and I do not buy airline tickets. I usually earn them all through my points and rewards, hotels too. And then like even accessing lounges across the world, like when I'm traveling, getting into lounges, getting free food. Like I refuse to buy airport food. I'm looking for the Amex lounge. I'm looking for the U.S. Airways, and I'm upset if there isn't one there, and I gotta pay for food. Like I'm literally upset about that. So I think in terms of lifestyle, I think there's an accessibility that you get with good credit, and like dealing with banks and loans, and be able to move forward. Like I have a number of real estate throughout New York City. And, I'm at the point when I start off every conversation, I have excellent credit. What are you going to do for me versus what I need from you?
Right.
So I'm more in directing the conversation, and more of a I wouldn't say arrogance, more of a confidence that I'm bringing to the table. Because some people with bad credit, you become like, you need them more than they need you. And you got to talk to them in a subtle way, versus I can be aggressive. I can be like, I'm looking to do X, Y, and Z. If not, I'm going to reach out to another lender, and they don't want to lose my business, because when they're looking at this guy's going to pay back, so it makes me a lot confident when I'm doing deals. And even now I find like a lot of my friends that didn't manage their credit, they're just trying to take me in on deals just because of my credit. Like, hey, let's do this together. Let's do that together, because we know you have good credit.
Right. Yeah, I guess it is the art of the deal, right? Like it puts you in a better position
to keep reflecting these leaders, right? The art of the deal. Yeah, it is the art of the deal. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess I still want to harp on just like misconceptions. You talk about real estate, you talk about utilizing your credit, cards, or just when it comes to like the credit, like the world of building credit, what other like things should people be paying attention to? You mentioned personal loans, like as whether you're a young kid who's just starting to build their credit, or you're much older.
Well, I would say you need to establish credit at an early age. Okay. Because one of the strongest indicators is credit history. So the earlier you establish credit, the better chance your credit score will increase.
So do people have to like do it in the same way like your pops opened up, went to the dealership to get you a car? Like, so that's a loan out the gate, right?
That was a loan out the gate.
Can they do it like with other like things?
Yeah, credit card is a good way to start. Like I said, there's a lot of student cards out there. And I always say, I tell my son, don't bite more than you can chew.
Right.
So as far as credit, you want to get a card, maybe as a young person, maybe with $1,000 limit. And you want to use it in your day-to-day. Rather than, when you use cash to spend for something, your money is only working in one way. It's buying.
And that's including a debit card.
No, a debit card is not a credit card. A debit card
No, I'm
is just
saying,
access your
I'm
money in
saying
the bank.
when you talk about using cash, that's included.
Yeah, that's inclusive of debit card, right? Because it's just a one-to-one transaction.
Right.
I'm giving you this X amount of money, in return, you're giving me this product or service.
Right.
But when you use a credit card, your money is working in three different ways.
Right.
A, you're getting the product.
Right.
B, you're betting your credit score, you increase your credit score. And C, you're earning rewards and points.
Right.
And any successful person, any wealth building person, you maximize how you use your dollar, and you're always leveraging, right? So I think as a young person, you focus on establishing credit, and you pay it off in full every month, because paying it off in full sets the standard, like the tone. Like, this person is very responsible. This person.
If someone then says, right, I've heard people talk about just paying the minimum, right? But you're saying like paying the full amount month in, month out is actually the way to really.
Yeah, I don't like finance charges giving away money. I mean, I don't pay in full if I have a zero interest credit card, because I'm not paying any interest. But you should be using it as a 30-day loan.
Right. So when you say a zero interest credit card, what do you mean by that? That there's the
they're not
bank
charging
that's
nothing.
issuing you the card is not charging interest on any purchase.
They're called teaser rates. So the bank, to get your business, to get you over to their card, they'll give you a teaser rate. Oh, go with this new card from TD Bank, and we'll give you 12 months of interest free. Right. Because their theory is during those 12 months, you're gonna pile up a lot of stuff on the card.
Right.
And when the teaser rate is over, you won't be able to pay it off.
Right.
But if you're ahead of the game, you pay it off.
Right. Even that, you still pay it monthly.
Yeah, I put all my utilities, like insurances, everything I possibly can, I pay on my credit card. Right. And I like to pay it off in full every month, because then that's what's earning my rewards for travel. And it's better as a young person to budget, see where your weaknesses are, see what you're spending on. If you put everything on a card, if you can take time every month to review it. Like, you should be trying to spend at least things through cash or debit cards. You should be more trying to spend on, you should be more putting on a credit card. But, I taught a class years ago, and these older brokers spoke up, you're teaching them wrong. These people are going to know. You have to create discipline. If you don't have discipline, then you're not ready for this game. Like, everything I'm telling you is going to go to waste. If you're not, and this is all becoming, like, I'm a key component now as I get older about self-love, which means loving yourself in all forms and fashion and not disrespecting yourself. So if you want to truly love yourself in terms of credit, you have to be on top of your game, because it's going to hurt you in the long run. Right. And you can't let anybody take you off your credit journey, because it's going to help you. Like, you can get a house with bad credit. You can get a credit card with bad credit. You can get a car with bad credit. Right. The only difference between somebody with good credit and bad credit is you're going to be paying a lot more. Right. And you're going to be going to your pocket a lot more. And I like keeping my pockets fat. Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. So you're saying, obviously, like the habits or like what it takes to really get to your level of 850. So would you say like everyone should be striving for 850?
Absolutely. Everybody should be striving for 850, because it's there and the opportunity is there for everyone. Right. And everybody, like, people are gonna come at you. Can you do this for me? Can you put this on your card? And you have to have that self-love again. I'm going to practice that. I'm going to keep going into that word of saying, self-love. I got to love myself more. Even like I have kids. I love my kids, but I have to love myself just as much so that I go out and exercise every day. Right. So they're not hit with the burden one day of having to take care of me, or hearing that I came up with some kind of cancer or something that's going to cause me to be able. So I do my part of making sure that I'm trying to stay as healthy as possible for them. Right. So, and credit, you have to stay as healthy as possible for you, for future generations, for quality of life. There's so many people that, like, because they have bad credit, they have to be living under certain circumstances because of bad credit.
Okay, let's just try to paint the picture for maybe like someone out there who may not necessarily have, they didn't start their journey early enough. They might have been hit with a myriad of different life, circumstances. Let's just say for someone who might be out there with like a tier 5, I don't know if it goes to that level, tier 3, whatever. Let's just say a 500,
credit score,
600, or 450 even a credit score. That were trying to make their way back or crawl their way up to this level. Like what tips or recommendations would you give to them?
Okay, and the time we're living on, people want this quick fix.
Of course.
And I'm not going to mislead people and give them quick fix solutions as like, baits to like be like, oh, they said this and it becomes trendy. I'll give you the hard truth.
Here are 5 ways to improve your credit score
exactly.
in 2 days.
In 2 days. Exactly.
Right.
Thank you. Exactly. I'm not
That's it right there. Yeah, so they can watch this, you know.
So
2 days.
So you have to really, how did you get to this point? You know what I mean? How did you get to this point of bad credit?
Right.
And what disciplines aren't you following? Like I have a friend wanting to like me to invest in a business with her, and I just see the bad habits already. I see the habits of her, like any little chance to get on a plane and fly away and spend money. Any little thing diverts her to a whole other direction of what the focus is.
Right.
And until you get rid of those, you
Bad
obtain that
habits.
discipline, those bad habits, then I wouldn't want to commit myself to working with you, because I'm going to be having to always debate with you on things that I know that what it takes to achieve success and the discipline and the mindset that you need. So if you're really on that true credit journey, your mind has to be locked into that.
Right. Yeah.
If you look at an analogy of baseball, everybody's trying to hit a home run because that's what we see in the media and community. Like you get the first base, you can maybe get to second base and find your way to third by gradually setting the proper foundation. So if your credit sucks right now, you have to go back to the basics. Start budgeting down.
Right.
Start paying off your credit in chunks. Start doing a consolidation. Start living a less expensive life, because in this country, we can get caught up trying to impress. And then once you get to a humbling point in your life where your personality outweighs what you have to show and behold. Like I remember my brother, he had this jacket. We used to call it the potato sack jacket. It was this linen brown jacket. And whatever party we were going to, whatever event, he wore this jacket. He popped this jacket on. But people weren't drawn to his jacket. People were drawn to his confidence. You know what I mean? That's what made him cool, was his confidence. He wore that linen jacket everywhere. It became a joke. It never stopped him from meeting people. It never stopped him from getting a number, because his confidence outweighed this horrible linen jacket. So I think once you have those mindset and the loving of yourself, the credit will all come together. Right. But if you're just going to go out there and be like, oh, like Peter, one thing I admire about you is your work ethic. You know what I mean? And if you're going to just come out there and say, I want to be this, but you're not willing into putting the work ethic, it's never going to come out to anything. Yeah. So I can preach good credit all day long, but if you're not willing to curtail your spending, if you're not willing to pay your credit cards off, you're not willing to do those basic things, then you got to watch another podcast.
Right. No, I feel that. I mean, it starts with loving yourself and making a decision that this is the journey you're about to embark on. Because to your point, it's not a quick fix.
But the journey's great.
Yeah,
the journey's great, and people don't understand the success is in the journey.
Success is in the journey. I mean, the journey, it can be enjoyable as well. Right?
It's pleasurable. You look at your journey.
Yeah, it's a journey.
Your journey to your success have you not enjoyed it? You've done shows all over the world. You've done events. You've met people all over the world. Yeah. But people don't know the work that's gone into the background, but you've had a journey.
Right, exactly. I may not have 850 on my credit report, but I've had quite the journey as well. And I guess the same principles that you talk about, the same habits apply, right? And just because it is, it's setting a goal, right? Okay, it's attainable. 850 is attainable. We have evidence of it right here, right? I know a handful of people now that's 850. There's one more person I know outside of Mr. 850 that has a perfect, credit score. And, it is, we, like two black guys, like we also can, get access or attain that, credit score as well. So it really just takes these, learning these habits very early, as early as we possibly can, even with with life throws us these lemons and these things that we have to
make lemonade.
You gotta make lemonade.
That's the journey.
Right.
People want the perfect lemons and not making lemonade. Look, my theory in life is I'm always striving to be part of the 1%. Okay, where I live, I want to live where the 1% lives. The people that I'm around, I want to be part of the 1%. My credit score, I want to be part of the 1%. My business, I try to be 1%. And anything I'm doing, I'm striving to be in that 1% group. Right. Now, I'm not saying I achieve it all the time, but that's my mindset. When I'm in a room, I want to be doing things better than 99% of the people in here. Right. So if you, as a young person, say, whatever I do, if you're in a career and you're not striving to be part of that 1%, the best production team, the best this, then you need to find another occupation because you should be striving to be part of that 1%. You should be learning, what is that person doing that I'm not doing? What do they have that I'm not doing? Like when we talked about reinventing this podcast, we're like, it's flooded now, the podcast world. What do we need to do to be part of that 1%?
Right.
To be able to people click on us. And I think today's show, we're talking about perfect credit score, but we're giving it a way that's relatable, that people can understand and not fool people as to what we want them to do, so they clickbait.
For sure. Let's talk about like even just, you know, someone who might be on the fence, like a more conservative type of like, you know, individual who's like, you know, obviously you talked about the 1-to-1 transaction versus the 1-to-3, like with the rewards, the building your credit history, and they're just still like, man, like I like to know that this money goes towards this thing, and I like to
The budgeter?
Yeah, like just someone who's just not as like open to like building a credit or just like being exposed to that like credit world thing.
Everybody needs to be exposed to the credit world because it's going to affect you one way or the other.
From where I come from, for example, right in Nigeria, I'm Nigerian, and you know we moved here, and not until we moved here did I know there's a thing called like like building credit or just like you know, and back home everything is bought on cash.
Right.
Like you gotta, you know, unless you're like, I don't know, you're able to get access to some capital that is astronomically like inaccessible to just the daily or just a regular civilian, but everything was bought in cash. You have this money, you trade it for this, you have this thing, you trade it for that. Like that was it. That's how things operated. Obviously here it's a completely different landscape. So I wonder, you know, for folks who might still be operating, because I was young when I moved here, so it's easy to assimilate and just like, you know, pick up on a lot of things, but you know, for some other people, they're still fairly new, and it's, you know, foreign to them that, oh, I have to, what?
Part of success is made off adapting to your current environment.
That's right.
And if I were to move to Nigeria, I'd have to adapt. I can't walk around with an Amex card and be like, can I buy this? I have to adapt to the culture. A lot of people come into certain cultures and they don't want to learn that culture. And I think the North American, when I say that Canada, America, is built off credit.
Right.
America owns trillions of dollars in credit, and it's okay with managing that. This country was built off credit. Other countries don't fall in line with that. So if I'm speaking from an American perspective, for you to say you're going to cash and carry your whole career, your whole life through this country, you're not going to reach much success. There has to be a part of like letting go of the ignorance and understand this is the culture and this is what we have to put our mind around. And I've been all around the world just like you. And when I go to other places and other countries, you know, and visiting, I'm learning the culture. You know, when I went to started doing business internationally, I went from store to store, more or less having conversations, so I can understand the culture. And then be able to fit within that culture to be able to monetize.
Yeah.
And regardless of what you do, if you want to be an engineer, if you want to be a dancer, a poet, a musician, credit is needed, you know, in every facet of what you're trying to do. So it's not something you should run and shy away from, and not something like I don't want to get involved in. If you don't want to get involved in, the simple thing you have to do is just don't bite more than you can chew and just pay your bills on time. And your credit score will organically increase.
Well, you know, we've seen and heard what it takes to have this perfect, reach the pinnacle of credit. 850, and you know, Shaun has shared what it takes and what it took him to reach this point. Any final tips that you would give to the audience to, you know, strive and aim for this like goal?
I would say, make it a daily practice. Be aware and think of like, you know, I know the young people, they don't think 20 years in advance, but like I'm 20 years in advance now. And I'll tell you, it makes this part of your life smooth, and it makes the journey, and it makes like acquiring things very accessible. Like I feel like I have access to America in any form that I'm looking to do, you know, which direction I want to go. Like now, you know, do I want to buy another home? Do I want to purchase this? I just feel I have access, and I will most likely not be denied. And I think that's where you want to position yourself, regardless of what you do in life, direction you want to go. As you get older, you want to be able to have more access.
Right.
And you want to be able to like not have those ceilings capping you. You know, I don't feel capped.
That's good.
So I would say that should be your motivation, and it'll help you grow whatever endeavor you choose in life. And then you're preparing the next generation as well,
Yeah.
which is important. Like, you live a selfish life if you're not thinking about the next generation.
That's right. That's right. So, I mean, there we have it, right? It really takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of, preparation, discipline, right, to embark on this journey of building your credit, because it's not just about you. It's about the generation to come. So,
With that being said, man, we are the new two black guys with good credit, along with Verse Productions. They're getting plugged all day, every day.
that's right.
And we just want to thank you guys for joining us for this new season. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're out. Peace.
Peace.
Two black guys with good credit.